And so here's some of the highlights from the Yankee right fielder. He was asked about this year's team being hungrier than in the past.
Definitely coming in hungry, if not hungrier than years past, especially going from 23 into last season, not making the postseason. That's a tough one to swallow there. And, guys were motivated, guys showed up early, they put in the work. And I think, getting to the dance and losing out on it definitely is a lot worse than not even getting in. So guys are motivated, guys are ready to go. So definitely some great energy so far. It's only been a couple days, but guys are ready to get back to work and, get us back in that spot and rewrite the script.
Well, that's fascinating. I wonder what you people think about that. You think it's worse worse losing the World Series than not making the playoffs? I mean, it might hurt more. You don't make the playoffs, you move on. But in terms of like the sting, I think not making the playoffs is worse than going to the World Series and losing in the World Series, don't you all? Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm surprised Aaron said that. Not making the playoffs, that's the ultimate failure for a New York Yankee team. Going to the World Series and losing, yeah, it hurts a lot, but is it worse than not making the playoffs at all? Now, Judge was asked about this roster heading into the season.
It's exciting. A lot of different pieces that have come in. We start with Bellinger, a guy that can play 3, 4, 5, 6 different positions for us, play all over the field. You got a guy like Goldschmidt who's been one of the top 10 hitters in the game for the past 10 years. It's been impressive to watch. He's going to bring a different side of the game to us at first base. He's a guy that can run the base as well. Having Jazz do his thing, another year of Jazz, who's been so dynamic for us and explosive. It's going to be exciting. We got a lot of different pieces, some new arms, especially with Max Fried, a guy that I faced for quite a few years, and I'm glad he's in pinstripes now. But I'm excited about the lineup. I don't know how it's all going to work out, who's going to bat where and all that, but just up and down this lineup, we got guys who are going to have good at-bats, quality at-bats, guys that can steal bases, get on base, and a lot of guys that can leave the park.
And finally, the captain was asked, did you hear the Dodgers' comments after winning the World Series?
Oh, yeah, we heard that, but there's nothing you can do besides you got to beat them. They won. They can say whatever they want. So, if you don't like it, you got to play better.
I'll tell you what, not to unearth or litigate, why would they say the stuff they said? It's not like the Yankees disrespected them at all. So you win, you do the classy thing and congratulate them for having a great season and move on. Instead, you just completely obliterated them. You insulted them and insulted what they're all about. I mean, if the Yankees ever face the Dodgers in the World Series again, not that you need more motivation than actually playing for a World Series title, but why give a team more fodder? Why? And then it was a guy like Joe Kelly who didn't even play. Wasn't even active. I don't get it. Let's go to the Mets side. Carlos Mendoza. We talked about Frankie Montas. You're not going to see him until June with a lat strain. That's my guesstimate. And Mendoza was asked about Montas' injury update.
Frankie Montas dealing with a lat strain. It's a high-grade lat strain. So he's shut down from throwing 6 to 8 weeks. He's on his way to New York right now to get a PRP injection. So that's what we got.
6 to 8 weeks means 2 months from now before he picks up a ball. And then that's if everything goes according to plan and everything goes well. Then you tack on 6 more weeks after that to build you up to a 5 or 6 inning starter. June. Mendoza was asked about Montas' injury and does it change the thought of a 6-man rotation?
Not really. I mean, we got options. Still too early. Here we are dealing with an injury with one of the starters, and we'll continue to have those conversations and see whether, especially at the front end when we have 3 days off, whether we want to go week 5, even though because they're going to be getting that extra day, and then we'll adjust accordingly.
It's funny how things change because McGill looked like he was going to start the season at AAA. Now he might be part of that 6-man rotation. Mendoza did, when the whole squad reported, made a speech to the Met team, and Lindor praised of the speech, and Mendoza was asked about Lindor's praise of the speech.
Yeah, it was who we are, what's our goal. We're here to win a championship, and we got to believe that. But we also understand that we got work to do. We still got long ways to go. There's a lot of good teams out there. We got to be able to become a great team, and some of the things that we need to do, not only on the field but off the field. So he was a messaging somewhere along those lines. Just a reminder who we are, and last year was last year. He's all about 2025 now. So yeah, I'm glad he liked it.
Mendoza, the Mets got themselves a great manager. A lot of people knew that Mendoza was going to be a good manager at some point. Mets took a chance, and you know what? It's paid off in a big way. Speaking of paying off, Juan Soto got paid big time to join the Mets. Aaron Judge was asked about the Yankees losing Soto in free agency.
Yeah, Soto's one of a kind, man. He's a special player. Excited for him and his new chapter with the Mets. But we added a lot of new pieces here, starting with Bellinger and Goldschmidt, two guys that are, former MVPs, guys that are still wanting to improve, still want to get better. They're going to add just such a different dynamic to this team. It really lengthens out our whole lineup. When you have those guys batting in the middle of your order, just a lot of good things are going to happen. So, you can't replace a guy like Juan Soto, but you bring in guys like this that are all-stars, MVPs, caliber players. We did a pretty good job.
Judge was asked if he was surprised Soto left for the Mets for a better chance to win the World Series. And Judge said that's his opinion. He could say what he wants. I definitely disagree with it. I wasn't too surprised by it. I think that's where he wanted to be. Interesting. 1-800-919-3776. That's the number. Let's go to Derek in Brooklyn. Derek.
Hey, good afternoon, Michael. How you doing? Big fan of yours.
Thank you, Derek.
Yeah, I'm a diehard Mets fan, season ticket holder. Just wanted to ask a two-part question. Do you think the Mets will consider trading for Dylan Cease? And if so, what do you think they would have to give up? And another part of a Mets question I have for you is, with Soto, being there and everything, who do you think it would impact more in a more favorable manner, meaning a career year with Nemo or Lindor have a better year because Soto's there? Thank you so much, man. Love you, Mike. Have a great day, man. Take it easy.
Thank you. Wow. I guess a lot of it depends on where Soto's going to hit, second or third. So if it's second, I think he really positively impacts Lindor. If it's third, who's going to bat second? Is it going to be Nimmo? Then it would impact Nimmo. I think it's going to impact Alonso. There's going to be guys on base almost 50% of the time in front of Alonso. So I think it's going to have a big impact on him. I really do believe that. And it's a big year for Alonso because he could opt out and he wants that long-term deal. I think Soto makes everybody around him better. If you look at the year that Judge had, Soto was hitting in front of him, and I think he positively impacted Judge as well. And Judge impacted Soto positively. But having somebody on base and having worked as hard as they did just to get Soto out or walk him, there was such a benefit for Aaron Judge to watch that and see what the pitcher has and how he was trying to get out Soto. And that's how Alonso is also going to deal. Now, as for Cease, you're losing Montas. I think they'd have to give up Acuna. Maybe they have to think about Jet Williams, maybe Beatty. They have to give up top prospects. Mauricio, I'm not saying all of them, but some combination. And I don't think it would be a bad deal. If the Mets think they're close and they're one big-time pitcher away, Dylan Cease makes, I think, $13.8 million this year, and he's going to be a free agent. So if he becomes a free agent, the Mets love him. Well, the Mets can afford anybody. I think that's something that the Mets should definitely be looking into. Let's go to Rich in Sayreville. Rich.
Hey, how's it going, Mike? How are you?
Good, Rich. What's up?
Hey, nothing much. I just had a quick question for you about the Cohen tax. Wouldn't it make sense to go over the Cohen tax if we did make the playoffs via TV revenue and ticket sales that would offset the cost or subsidize the cost of going over that tax if we did sign like Turner or any other piece that we might need to actually make the playoffs this season?
It's interesting. Obviously, making the playoffs does make a team a lot of money. But the Yankees probably think, and Hal Steinbrenner, I don't want to speak for him, but he probably thinks, why can't we make the playoffs with a $300 million payroll? Why does it have to be $320? I think that the tax that you pay, 110% on each dollar, is probably the least of their worries because of all the other things that set you back in terms of draft positioning and and foreign money and stuff like that. I think that has a lot to do with it. If it's 110% tax, it shouldn't be because they have the money. I don't think that they can lean on that because they make more money revenue-wise than the Dodgers. They make more money revenue-wise than any team in baseball. Do they need to have a $400 million payroll? No. I think a $300 million payroll is plenty good, but then it does talk about some of the allocation of the money that you spent, that you're in a position that you need to spend more to get a third baseman. That's the issue. Now, in terms of losing in the championship or not making the playoffs, Rick DiPietro just texted me. He said it's much worse losing in the championship than not making the playoffs. Much worse. But I think the thing that Judd said wasn't what was worse. But I think he'd rather not make the playoffs than go to the World Series and lose. That's what I guess that Rick is answering that in a little bit. But wouldn't you rather go to the championship and lose than not make the playoffs at all? I know that they're losing the championship is probably worse than not making the playoffs, but at least you got to the championship. Not making the playoffs, I think I'd rather get to the championship and lose and hurt more than not making the playoffs. I guess that's my point.